Hey, que la que hay, mi amigo? Rocky here from SpeakSpanishFaster.com. En el video de hoy, in today's video, vamos a hablar, we are going to talk about how to tell time in Spanish. It's no secret that telling time is important. If we can't tell time, how are we going to make our train in Spain? No, but in all seriousness, telling time is something that seems to trip a lot of students up because telling time in Spanish is much different than telling time in English. But don't worry, in today's video, I'll cover all of that for you. I'll also give you some tips that can help you remember how to tell time properly, and I'm going to challenge you with a simple exercise near the end of the video to see how much you learned in this video. So definitely stay tuned for that. Without further ado, let's jump right into today's lesson. When it comes to telling time in Spanish, there are a few basic keys to remember to make sure that you are doing it correctly. Let's start at the very beginning. What time is it? When telling time, we are using a to be verb, right? It is 9 o'clock. So this falls into I am, you are, he is, she is, it is. There are two primary verbs that mean to be in Spanish, those being ser and estar, and I've done a video on this already. When telling time, we will always use ser. So in Spanish, the question is never ¿Qué hora está? It's always going to be ¿Qué hora es? So what time is it? ¿Qué hora es? That's the first key to remember. Whenever telling time, you'll always be using the verb ser. Now, a more tricky part is how to exactly conjugate the verb. I'll explain the framework in English so it will make more sense to you because telling time in English is different than the way we tell time in Spanish, and let me explain the difference. So let's say it's 9 o'clock. In English, I would say it is 9 o'clock. If you directly translated that in Spanish, you would say es la nueve. But that would be incorrect. And this is the mistake I see many students make. In Spanish, we aren't really saying it is this hour or that hour. What we are saying is more like how many hours there are or how many hours they are. I know this can be confusing, but it really doesn't have to be because you'll be using the same word 90% of the time. So instead of saying it is 9 o'clock, if I were saying it in English, how it's said in Spanish, I'm saying they are 9 hours. And remember, we are using the verb ser. So we would say son las nueve because 9 hours is plural. Now, the reason I say this doesn't have to be difficult is because you would be using the word son for any time that isn't 1 o'clock. Son las siete, they are 7, or it's 7 o'clock. Son las cinco, they are 5, or it's 5 o'clock. You would always use the word son because all the hours are plural, from 2 all the way to 12. The only time you wouldn't use son is when you are talking about 1 o'clock because that's only 1 hour, right? So it's singular, es la una. It is 1 hour. It is 1 o'clock. Now next, let's discuss how to add time to the hour. It's pretty easy. You simply add the word y for and then you tell how many minutes there are. Some basic words you can use are cuarto, which means a quarter of the hour, and media, which means half the hour. So if you want to say it's 4:15, instead of saying son las 4:15, which would still be correct, the more proper way to say it would be son las 4:15. If you want to say it's 5:30, instead of saying son las 5:30, you would simply say son las 5:30. Remember, when we are talking about 1 o'clock, we still are using es because it's still only 1 hour, and then we add the minutes. So if it's only 1:10, you can say es la 1:10. So remember those words, cuarto for a quarter and media for half. Now another tricky thing that can confuse students is after the half the hour, when you tell time, you should count backwards. This really gets confusing for students when it's spoken to them versus using it. It's not really that hard to use, but in English, we are so accustomed to hearing the current hour plus the time. So for example, in English, if it's 7:45, we say, hey, it's 7:45. But in Spanish, even though you could say son las 7:45, the proper way to say it is son las 8 menos cuarto. So you are saying it's 8 minus a quarter of the hour. So again, anytime you are saying a time after the half hour, you would address the next hour minus the minutes needed to reach that hour. So let's do another example. Instead of saying it's 3:50, we should say it's 4 minus 10. Or technically speaking, there are 4 hours minus 10 minutes. Son las 4 menos 10. This will require practice, not because it's that difficult, but because we aren't accustomed to telling time like this. I'm not sure if any other languages tell time like this, but if you speak another language and you tell time like this, please comment below and let me know. Now let's cover some additional words that you can add to the time. So of course we have AM and PM. AM is de la mañana, son las 9 de la mañana, it's 9 in the morning, and we have PM, de la tarde, or de la noche. De la tarde is more afternoon or evening. De la noche is night. Keep in mind, in the motherland Spain, they do everything really late. I remember when I was there, we ate dinner at like 10 o'clock. So where you might use siete de la noche in America, 7 at night, they might use siete de la tarde and still consider this the afternoon. But I would say there's no real time that separates afternoon from night. The difference is really when the sun goes down. So the rule of thumb is if the sun is up, it's tarde. If the sun goes down, it's de la noche. Other words you can add to time are en punto, which means on the dot. So you would really only use this if it's at the top of the hour. Son las tres en punto, it's 3 o'clock on the dot. Mediodía, which means it's midday or noon. Medianoche, which means midnight. Now that we know how to tell time, let's go over using time when discussing when things are. So the way that you ask when something is by adding the word a in front of que hora. So if I want to ask you what time do you have to work tomorrow, I would say a que hora tienes que trabajar mañana. Let's say your response is I have to work at 8 in the morning. Tengo que trabajar a las 8 de la mañana. Now let's say I have a doctor's appointment at 1:30 in the afternoon. Tengo una cita con el médico a la 1:30 de la tarde. So when you are answering what time you have to do something, for 1 o'clock you would use the singular la, and for the other hours, because they are plural, you would always use the word las. The word la or las pertains to the hours. Remember that. Las horas. So that may actually help you remember the singular and the plural. La una hora, las 2 horas, las 3 horas, etc. Okay, so now let's have a little fun and do a little quiz. On the card right here on YouTube, you can see on my top left, you will see there's 3 multiple choice polls if you click that card. I'm going to be showing you 3 different times on my screen, and you have to select the right answer. When you're at home, I also want you saying the answer out loud so you get used to saying it as well. So I'll ask you the question and then give you 5 seconds to answer. Remember, click the card up here to my left, scroll to the poll, and answer the question. ¿Estamos listos? Okay, now let's go through the answers to see if you selected the right one. Número 1, the answer was C, es la 1:15. Número 2 was B, son las 9:10. Número 3, the answer was D, son las 3:30. Now don't get discouraged if you didn't get all of them right. Go back through the video and continue to practice until you perfect it. That's the only way you'll get better. And to be honest, for questions like number 1, you could say es la 1:15. That wouldn't necessarily be wrong, but I'm simply trying to train you to say it the 100% proper way. If you found this video helpful and you're looking for more ways to improve your Spanish, definitely visit our website, speakspanishfaster.com/YouTube, where you can go sign up for a free training where I'm revealing my 3 biggest secrets to becoming conversationally fluent in Spanish. If you enjoyed the video, please like it, comment below if you need help with anything. I'll be happy to help you. Last but not least, please don't forget to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so you never miss a video. We upload videos every Saturday morning so you can partake in your weekend Spanish lesson. Until next time, nos vemos.